Hello there, welcome to news from Nepal television. I'm Smitugi Singh Thamang. Let's begin with the top stories of this afternoon. Coalition partners likely to reach consensus on electoral seat allocation by today. Task force set to submit its report. Japanese encephalitis claims 3 lives in Makwanpur. Caution urged as dengue cases in the district still goes unabated. Liz Truss to be formally appointed by the Queen today, vows energy crisis action ahead of her first day as the British Prime Minister. And 6th edition of the SAF Women's Football Championship kicking off today. Nepal to face Bhutan in the inaugural match. Detail. The 5-party task force formed to finalize modality of seat allocation among the ruling partners for House of Representatives and Provincial Assembly elections is all set to complete its task. The prolonged meeting of the task force at Baluwatar on Monday decided to complete the allocation by today. Leaders said the task force would conclude its task by today and then submit the framework report to the top leadership. Leaders said the seat sharing would be settled in a scientific and judicious manner, also taking into consideration the vote won by the parties in the past and some pressing political matters. The task force is meeting at 6 p.m. today. The Election Commission has determined a total of 10,888 polling stations across the country for upcoming elections to the members of House of Representatives and Provincial Assemblies set for November 20. The Election Commission reviewed the number of polling stations, also considering the number of voters, convenience and security sensitivities in accordance with the polling station and voting centre fixation work procedure. In line with the arrangements specified in the working procedure, the revision was also grounded on the recommendations received from the District Polling Station and Voting Centre Fixation Recommendation Committee. The government introduced bill on term of the House of Representatives is undergoing amendment for obvious reasons. CP and UML had opposed the earlier understanding that the term of parliamentarians would remain until the election, and thus new provision of the term ending as soon as nomination is filed is being brought. More in this report.
The amendment bill to some Nepal acts in regards to the term of House of Representatives is all set to be amended again. After main opposition parties CP and UML disagreed with the bill is being revised. Whip of Nepali Congress Min Biswakarma said the bill is going to be amended, removing the entire added clause on the term of the members of the House of Representatives. According to the new provision being brought, the term of lawmakers will end on the day of candidate nomination. Article 85 of the Constitution stipulates that the tenure of the House of Representatives will be for 5 years. Meanwhile, there are differences on how long is the 5-year term of the House of Representatives. According to the Code of Conduct of the Election Commission, the MPs should be relieved from their tenure before candidate registration for the upcoming election. The parties are scheduled to submit closed list of candidates under proportional representation on September 18 and 19. The government has introduced the amendment bill to some Nepal Act after the dilemma on the tenure of the parliament. Congress Whip Biswakarma informed main opposition party has also agreed to introduce this bill, but UML opposed the bill soon after it was tabled in Parliament. But now the amendment is well in course, with the House of Representatives agreed in principle on amending some Nepal Acts that includes provisions on the tenure of the House of Representatives.
The House of Representatives is holding its meeting today at 1 p.m. The Parliament session today is expected to pass the bill designed to amend some Nepal Acts 2079. As per the House agenda, Minister for Law, Justice and Parliamentary Affairs Govinda Prasad Koirala will table the bill up for discussion. Meanwhile, the National Assembly is scheduled for 1 p.m. today. Minister for Finance Janardhan Sharma is to present the proposal of consideration on Insurance Bill 2075 and Public Loan Management Bill 2076. Likewise, also the Parliament agenda today includes proposal by Minister for Agriculture and Livestock Development Mrigendra Kumar Singh on the bill on Animal Health and Livestock Services Council 2076 and proposal by Home Minister Bal Krishna Kant on Prison Bill 2076 seeking House approval. Time for a break now. We shall see you back with more updates. Welcome back. The remaining updates. At least 3 people have died of Japanese encephalitis infection in Makwanpur. According to District Health Office Makwanpur, 2 people from Bakaya Rural Municipality 7 and 1 from Hetoda Submetropolitan City 3, Basamadi, have died due to the infection. Also, the dengue outbreak is still out of control in Makwanpur district. Senior Public Health Officer at the District Health Office, Deepak Tiwari, informed that until Monday afternoon, 750 dengue patients have been identified in various wards of Manahari Rural Municipality and various wards of Hetoda Submetropolitan City, and immediate treatment arrangements have been made for them. According to him, severe dengue-infected patients are being treated at TU Teaching Hospital, Bir Hospital and Patan Hospital of Kathmandu Valley and Bharatpur Hospital of Chitwan. Now the international update. Liz Truss has promised to deal with surging energy costs and to cut taxes after she won the Tory leadership contest to become the next Prime Minister. Part of her plan, set to be announced on Thursday, could allow energy suppliers to take out government-backed loans in order to subsidize bills. Truss will succeed Boris Johnson after being formally appointed by the Queen at Balmoral Castle on Tuesday. The 47-year-old, the UK's third woman Prime Minister, will then announce her cabinet. She will take the reins of power on Tuesday, bringing Boris Johnson's turbulent premiership to an end less than 3 years after the Conservatives' resounding election victory in 2019. The most powerful typhoon to hit South Korea in years battered its southern region Tuesday, dumping almost a meter, which is 3 feet of rain, destroying roads and felling power lines, leaving 20,000 homes without electricity as thousands of people fled to safer ground. Typhoon Hinamnor grazed the resort island of Jeju and made landfall near the mainland port of Busan in the morning and was moving northwest towards the sea with winds of up to 144 kilometers per hour. It is on track to move closer to eastern China later in the week after ferry services in eastern China and flights in Japan were suspended in previous days. South Korean officials put the nation on alert about potential damages from flooding, landslides and tidal waves unleashed by Hinamnor, which came just weeks after heavy rains in the region around the capital Seoul caused a flooding that killed at least 14 people. Prime Minister Han Duk-soo called for evacuations in areas vulnerable to flooding, saying Hinamnor could end up being a historically strong typhoon that the country never experienced before. Rescue efforts continued Monday night after a 6.8 magnitude earthquake shook China's southwestern province of Sichuan on Monday shortly after noon. At least 46 people were reported killed and 16 missing after the quake triggered landslides and shook buildings in the provincial capital of Chengdu, whose 21 million residents are already under a COVID-19 lockdown. The quake struck the mountainous Luding County, Sichuan province, an area that sits on the edge of the Tibetan plateau where tectonic plates meet and that is regularly hit by earthquakes. The state broadcaster CCTV said that along with the deaths, authorities reported stones and soil falling from mountain sides causing damage to homes and power interruptions. Time again for a short break. We shall be back with more updates, to stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching English News on Nepal Television. More from international front. The U.S. Coast Guard suspended the search Monday afternoon for 9 people, including a child, who were missing after a float plane crashed in the waters of Puget Sound northwest of Seattle. The body of a 10th person was recovered by a Good Samaritan on Sunday after the crash was reported at 3:11 p.m., according to the Coast Guard. Later Monday, the Coast Guard said it was suspending the search after saturating an area of more than 2,100 square nautical miles, nearly 2,800 square miles, or 7,250 square kilometers. The Northwest Seaplane's flight left Friday Harbor, a popular tourist destination in the San Juan Islands, that was headed to Renton Municipal Airport, the company's base, according to the Coast Guard. The National Transportation Safety Board said Monday that they're sending a team of 7 to investigate the crash of the DHC-3 turbine Otter. The cause of the crash is unknown, authorities said. The armed forces of Venezuela announced Monday what they characterized as the largest marijuana bust of the last 10 years in the South American country. Members of the armed forces on Saturday intercepted a vessel carrying more than 3.1 U.S. tons of marijuana, almost 18 pounds, 8 kg of cocaine, and extra outboard boat motors off Venezuela's Caribbean coast, said General Domingo Hernandez, General Commander of the Operational Strategic Command of the Bolivarian National Armed Forces. He added that the vessel had departed Colombia and was en route to the island of Martinique. 12 men traveling on the boat were arrested. Hernandez said all are Venezuelans and were working for the Colombia-based cartel of the Guajira. Nearly 6,293 pounds of marijuana were seized from the boat, which lacked identification and had 7 extra motors, as well as 33 large storage containers with fuel and a satellite phone. Canada police have said that one of the 2 suspects in Sunday's mass stabbings in Saskatchewan has been found dead. The body of Damian Sanderson, of age 31, was found in the James Smith Cree Nation, home to several victims, they said. The 2 suspects were brothers, and police say Miles Sanderson is still at large and believed to be in the city of Regina. On Sunday, 10 people were stabbed to death in one of the worst acts of violence in Canada's recent history. The attacks, which left another 18 people injured, happened in a remote region of Saskatchewan. More updates lined up by the other side, but before that, let's take a look at what we have coming up next. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have arrived at the One Young World Summit in Manchester. Harry and Meghan took to the stage in front of 2,000 young leaders, making their first public appearance back in the UK since they returned briefly for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee in June. The Duchess, who was dressed in a vivid red outfit, smiled and held hands with the Duke as they made their way through the auditorium. The Duchess of Sussex declared it was very nice to be back in the UK as she took centre stage in Manchester to tell young leaders, "You are the future, you are the present." Meghan delivered a keynote speech at the summit, making her first in-person address in Britain since quitting as a working royal amid the Brexit crisis more than 2 years ago. She noted how her life had changed since she joined the summit in London in 2019, singling out her role as a wife and a mother, but making no mention of becoming a senior royal the year before. Now the sports update. The 6th edition of the South Asian Football Federation SAF Women's Championship kicks off in Kathmandu today. The regional tournament starts with host Nepal facing Bhutan in the inaugural match that will be played under floodlights at the Dashrath Stadium in Tripureshwar. 7 countries including India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Maldives, Bhutan and host Nepal are competing in the tournament. Meanwhile, head coach of the Nepali national women's football team, Kumar Thapa, said Nepal's goal is to win the SAF title for the first time without looking back at the past results. Nepal will play against Sri Lanka in the second match of the group stage. This match will be held on September 12th. The top two teams from the top two groups will advance to the semi-finals. The Nepali team is led by 26-year-old goalkeeper Endela Tumbapo Supa. And before we wrap up, the reminder of our top stories. Coalition partners likely to reach consensus on electoral seat allocation by today. Task force set to submit its report. Japanese encephalitis claims 3 lives in Makwanpur district. Caution urged as dengue cases in the district still goes unabated. Liz Truss to be formally appointed by the Queen today. Vows energy crisis action ahead of her first day as a British Prime Minister. And 6th edition of the SAF Women's Football Championship kicking off today. Nepal to face Bhutan in the inaugural match. This brings us to the end of our news bulletin. We shall be back with the next one at 6 this evening. Till then, goodbye. Namaste.